Hey man, how's it going?
Hello, good you?
Good. Yeah, welcome back. Here we are to
Yeah,
episode 4 of the Futurama review. Bite My Shiny Metal Cast, as well as, of course, Love's Labor's Lost in Space. So,
title of the episode.
yeah, wonderful. I think we both agree this is probably a stronger episode than the previous one with I Roommate.
Oh, 100%.
Even though I
Last
Roommate,
one.
yeah, I Roommate is still good, but this one is just has so many more hits, right? So,
Oh yeah, introduces two more characters that are
oh,
solid, have a solid
sticklers, right?
foothold or whatever the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
They're integral to the love for the series.
of course, yeah. Like people can't not do this show without quoting one of these two characters all the time, right?
Oh,
So
100%.
it is incredible that they have them in here. So no, it's great, and we'll get right into that. So the idea of with episode 4, we begin here. This is actually kind of interesting. So we get yet another cold open. Leela
Yeah.
being on a date, and this, I like this little cold open. It's very short, but it's funny. It has Leela dating this guy, and or on, I should say, on a date with this guy. I think this is the first time. They're at a nice restaurant. Everything's well. He seems like a snappy dresser. He seems like a nice guy. But what's wrong with him?
Nothing, because she was always like, people get put off by my giant eye because she's a cyclops, and he's like,
Right.
nah, it's okay, cool, it's all date, you're so cool and so pretty, and then he has like a long tongue that grabs the food and pulls it out.
Right.
She's like, ew. I
Right.
guess would say like a more elegant frog chameleon tongue, where
Right.
just
I think she calls it a lizard tongue later, right? Like
lizard
it's
tongue,
like
yeah,
his vile lizard tongue. But that isn't that isn't
right.
that like that's kind of the open joke with her, right? It's like so Leela comes across as like this girl who shouldn't have any like real problem with what people look like because people have been doing this to her for her entire life. Yet deep down inside, she still wants perfection, right? So
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, she's not as open-minded for us. So then, of course, we get into the opening crawl, or sorry, into the intro, and this one I was kind of interested. The opening part down at the bottom that usually has with every new episode. Today it says something along the lines of like presented in BCTV, which is like I think they call it brain control
Yeah,
television.
presented in BC, brain control where
Brain,
available.
where available. There we go. So like that's kind of interesting. I don't recall anything in Futurama ever having to do with brain control. Do you think this is some kind of like little?
Hypnotoad much?
Yeah, but they have another one where they use hypnovision. So it's like that's not the control TV station, right? Maybe it's just a little joke, but I don't know. I thought maybe it was kind of like a forgotten thing that may have had in the future. In any case, we go into here
All
now,
glory to the Hypnotoad.
and of course, when we get to the Hypnotoad episodes, those ones are interesting as well for it. But anyways, we go into this, and this is funny. The cold open actually relates to the episode this time with the theme with
More or less, yeah.
yeah,
It's definitely kind of in the same similar genre.
yeah, with Leela wanting to be, well, wanting to meet someone
Single.
nice, wanting to be in a
Yeah.
relationship of sorts, right? And so everybody's there. They're all giving her advice, and they all give her like just very bad advice for all this, right? Fry's like, oh, you have too high of standards, right? If somebody doesn't have a low IQ or a lizard tongue or an explosive temper, like you're always going to be unhappy, right? And then, Amy's like apparently quite open about everything, which we do come to learn later with the series with Amy. What is it? Zoidberg.
Oh, they all gave her suggestions and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
Bender's like, you could go see a saucy puppet show, and then
Right.
I love what was it? I can't remember what Fry said or something like that. And then Zoidberg is like, hey, how about we go to the whale carcass on the beach?
Right. And Amy's like, nah, I'll choose a place for this because like you guys are stupid.
Oh right, Hermes also mentioned one the what is it, the sexual something bureau,
sexatorium,
yeah,
or sexual bureau.
no,
or something, right?
It was a sexual bureau,
yeah. And he's like, nah,
because of course he's a bureaucrat, so yeah, go to the bureaucrat place.
Right, that makes sense because you could like maybe line up to meet your next significant other, and you have to go through all the paperwork or whatever. It's super romantic to him, right? Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Hermes has this one line. I think that's all he has for the entire episode. We never really see him again, but it's nice that he's in it.
I think he probably has a background voice or something like that in the crowd scenes or something.
Well, maybe. But I mean, like the Hermes character, right?
Not the Hermes character. That's all he says. Yeah. Generally, that's kind of what it is. It's just kind of like good news, everyone. Here's what we're gonna do for the plot. And remember, guys, Hermes would do say something or something like that. Do it cheaply or something like that.
Exactly. Or if
Yeah.
you're going to die, make sure you die and we don't have to clean up after you or something, right?
Yeah.
Like make sure it's clean. Um, okay, excellent. So then they go from here, and of course, Amy's choice is a place we actually see quite often in the whole show. This is the hip joint. The I guess you could call it like the Jetsons-esque theme bar.
Very Jetsons, yeah.
And where they have like people wear futuristic, I wrote here, futuristic rings that are actually retro. So they're old to them. So whatever time that comes from. And then people don't think they're cool. This is why they wear them here, because it's supposed to be this this hipster type of thing, right?
Yeah, it's like kids wearing like chain wallets nowadays.
Right. Or like
It's
shirts.
more of a statement that it is a fashion statement.
Sure. Like, or shirts that have like some kind of statement from like 30 years ago that used to mean something. It's just kind of there to whatever, right? The hipster idea, where the top hats and the monocles, fedoras, whatever, right? Like old style people trying to be cool in a different way, right? But
suspensors, cool. I think that's a new one, or it's an old new one.
Suspenders, sure thing.
Suspenders.
Yeah, suspenders. But in any case, there's so many things for that, right? So what do you think of this bar, the hip joint? Like every time we see it, what's your idea of this? Would you want to go here? Would you want to see this
I've
place?
never been a club rat.
I guess it is kind of a club, isn't it? It's not really a bar. It's a club.
Yeah,
it's I mean, dancing and music. And
you know what it reminds me of? And like it's a Batman Beyond when Terry goes to one of the things with it, because again, it's a future thing. There's there's floating platforms with people dancing on it, which is like, isn't that unsafe if someone falls or like 20 feet up in the air and they get hurt?
But that's kind of the safety precautions.
It's a futuristic thing. You're not supposed to take it as fact or whatever. But just I would never go to a place like that where you're just up on a platform 20 feet in the air, no handrails or anything to kind of protect you from falling off. It's just kind of floating.
Oh, I would go on that, no problem. That's
like, I'd try it out for funsies, but like if it was at a club where people are drinking and spilling stuff all over the place, making the floor either sticky or slippery, I'm good. Right. I've never been a club person, and that's just me.
No, me neither. I think the club would actually be more fun if it had stuff like that on it. Normal clubs, at least nowadays, are not that kind of stuff. They are basically just open floor, too loud of music for the time being.
Oh God, too loud.
Whatever. Like if you want,
you know what all the kids are into now, Anthony?
What's
You're
that?
Young and hip like them.
What's that? What are they into?
No, I'm asking you because you seem to be the expert here. Out of the two of us, I would say yes.
Well, the thing that that's the thing. Kids and like the teenagers and the young adults or whatever, if they want to go there, I would recommend if they want to actually meet people, go to pubs or bars because it's usually quieter. But then if you want to go to clubs, it's usually for the people who just kind of want to go out, burn up, like let off some steam or just dance or whatever, right? It's they weren't really my thing either. But if you had a club that was kind of themed in a sense like this, like a Jetsons themed thing, I think that'd actually kind of funny. I'd try that out once or twice. I think that'd be kind of fun.
There was a few in our town that were cowboy themed.
Ooh. Yeah, which is like great cowboy. Which out of towners, love that kind of stuff, right?
But, it's the one time I went to a club was one of the cowboy ones. I liked it. They were line dancing. I like line dancing. It's not as dramatic.
as Leela will say in the future, it's all rules and no touching. It's super fun. But in any case, here they are at the hip joint. Now,
trying to find Leela someone. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. They're there to try and get Leela, I guess, to hook up or at least have some kind of meet with somebody she might like, right? So you got Bender, Amy, Fry, and Zoidberg all part of this with Leela, right? And so Fry's off going somewhere, Zoidberg's off going somewhere, and Amy and Bender are helping out with Leela. So this is something I wanted to bring up with you. Fry is sitting at the bar and he's chatting with a girl who's actually from the 21st century, which would be like the now time, right? Of course, like
2000 to 2100.
Right, within that time range, right? But she says in there, do you remember a time when robots enslaved humanity? Now, this is kind of a funny thing because of course, Fry is just like he's trying to pick her up, so he just kind of agree with everything she says. But he's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember something like that, which I think he's actually referring to the Terminator franchise, of course, with all that kind of stuff. But I thought of
She
this
did say
now.
cyborg, not robot.
Or sorry, Cyborg, right?
Just to clarify.
Yeah, no, that's okay, because I guess I would make, less sense because Terminators aren't really cyborgs, at least not all of them. But
they got human flesh on the outside. It kind of works.
It works, I guess, there. So maybe that was the joke. But I wonder if this joke is also a little ahead of its time, because now people aren't necessarily enslaved to, cyborgs. They're enslaved to like their technology, which of course,
phones, television,
whatever,
computers,
right?
Yeah.
So I think
social media,
right? Which maybe
that's
it's
the biggest one,
right? Yeah. So I think that's kind of a fun little joke that's sort of ahead of its time there. Anyway, what did you think of some of these things that are going on? So afterwards, Amy and Bender are introducing Leela to some people. Who did she meet? Do you recall?
Crap. So some bobsled guy, and Bender was like accusing him that he was like a part of like the gay bobsled team. And he's like, oh boy, I wish those guys can really ride.
That's right.
Or something like
he's
that.
Totally open about it. Actually, I'm glad you brought him up, because he's actually seen, I think, if it's not the same character, the same model,
same design,
same design, right? Because he's
in the second movie, right?
No. It's during the Valentine's Day with Amy and Fry, when they're together in the head thing. So
okay, that's later on,
yeah, a little bit. That's like in the second season or something. And he shows up again, but he has the same voice actor and everything as well. So I'm not sure if it's supposed to be the same character, but then it's continuity thing, because then of course he and Amy already know each other, but in that episode they don't. But I digress.
Well, as a person who's working in the industry, it kind of is just easier to use have a set number of background characters, because you already have the designs for them and stuff. And mind you, this is when they were actually drawing and stuff, frame to frame and stuff like that. So the character drawings, character design and stuff like that, has been approved already. It's like, hey, is this person important? Is there any continuity issues? Right. No, he just had one talking scene and like way back when. It's fine. Use them again. So they don't have to create a new character. Not that it should take much time for the Simpsons, because they're all relatively close. Not that that's bad or anything like that. Yeah. But just I don't see a problem continuity wise with this guy being used again, because it's just he had one line.
You mean Futurama, right? But of course, I'm sure the Simpsons.
Like they have like 1,000 characters in the Simpsons that don't exist anymore, because they have their set characters for Springfield or wherever it is.
Right. And they just have like all these character models that they can use. And I suppose we only see this Bolt. I think his name was Bolt or something. We only see him those two times, I think, and then maybe
I thought he was one of the boyfriends for Colleen in the second movie.
No, I think I think he might be different actually. But you know what? That's kind of funny. If that's true, we'll have to keep an eye out for that, because if that's true, that's hilarious, because then it kind of shows that he is always been in the background of this show as well. He's always been showing up with the characters.
Oh, I have no doubt in my mind. He's probably like, they have like a walk cycle that they put in the far background or something, when they're doing like a city upscale of the city view or something like that.
Right. Yeah, maybe he's one of the guys going through the tubes when
the
opening intro or
they
something.
Probably he might be in one of the tubes, like again, like it's just here's like 30 character sheets for background characters. They can have whatever voice, and like you can see him in other cartoons and stuff like that too. We're like, hey, that character had a different voice or something like in that one episode, but now he has a talking part, and now he sounds completely different. Yeah, it just happens for that just at that time. Or True. It's just a quick thing and stuff like that. Like, oh crap, we can't design another character. We have to hire that guy again, and we have to pay him. Nah, just use one of these characters. It's fine.
That's true. Oh, actually,
that could be a case.
I think the guy, I'm pretty sure the guy who actually voices this character, at least in this episode, is Phil Lamar, who is, of course, Hermes' voice.
Actually, so hearing his voice, that would make sense.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he does show, the actor does show up again in here, but we don't have Hermes show up. And you know what? Talking about like these models and repurposing these models, because isn't this exactly what happens with Scruffy? Right? When Scruffy comes in, he is not part of the crew at the beginning when we first see him. But then later we see him and he has like a gray mustache instead of a brown mustache or something, right? And other
he's also in that one episode with the penguins. I think he has a brown mustache by accident,
right?
Which again, because I'm pretty sure these were drawn with cells and stuff like that. So it was one of the pipeline things where people would draw on paper, then people would get a clear cellophane, trace over it, and then that would get put to another person who would paint the backside of it, so that way it would look nice. to the front side. And sometimes it happens. I'm pretty sure there's continuity errors across every cartoon that you look at. There's always like one frame where like something like me, like I would forget to switch a mouth out or something like that.
Right.
Or the hand there'd be two hand drawings by accident. It happens. Sometimes it gets caught, sometimes it doesn't. So there's always continuity errors like that.
Of course. And that's like you said, that's standard for cartoons, right?
It just happens. It's not on purpose and stuff like that. Yeah. Generally, if something is shown to be on purpose, they'll linger on it and be like, "Hey, look, he dropped the mug. The mug's on the floor."
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Right. And then as we continue here, so of course, no, that's great, because this is actually leads us right into Leela goes through all these people. So she goes through this Bolt guy, and of course, Bender keeps asserting, I guess, every single character that they introduce to Leela is gay in some form, right? He has something.
Yeah, he has gaydar. Yes, which is a little device that looks like a remote that has a little satellite on it. Right. which could be a sensitive topic to talk about today, but
yeah, but it's whatever. It's the old. But remember that whole thing beforehand. We had the technology that was like that old school technology that looks like 1900s or 1950s type technology, but it's brought into the future of 1,000 years, right? It's one of those boxes like with a little thing, a little satellite.
Like nowadays, everything's kind of like beam. You scan things with a beam. That was a little satellite dish going right, bing, bing, bing.
So he has all these euphemisms for it, like the gaydar. He comes from another dimension that's like big on musical theater. Like Bender is very.
Although I might be getting some interference from a gay weather balloon, but who knows? Right?
Yeah, he's very funny.
Which because it's a satellite that did happen for all these people who are young who might be listening to us
1,100 years prior.
Yeah.
So that's the funny part of it, right?
Like it's the same thing with like weather conditions and stuff like that too, right? So
of course, we talked about that.
It's just funny.
We talked about that last time as well with the TV, of course, because Bender's antenna was working with
right,
the TV,
exactly, yes,
that was the satellite issue. So they had that big thing going on in that time when the show was being created. So it's funny they still brought that into 1,000 years.
Are satellite dishes still used today?
Of course.
I never had one, so it's never been on my radar.
Yeah, of course. The technology is definitely improved, but they're definitely still used.
Okay. Again, like I never had a satellite TV, so it was never on my radars to kind of like, do they still exist or not?
Yeah. Most people use the internet now, right? Because they could just connect with
streaming so much easier to do.
Yeah, it's still they're still very well used, but they're just not as popular now as like the streaming services.
No, I think once cable became better, it was used more.
Right. Now this is something I'm not sure how I feel about this. Tell me how you feel about this, of course. So Zoidberg is there. He's having a bad night too, because Zoidberg doesn't get a lot of ladies in the series, but he's sitting there and he spills a drink, and then he notices something looking at him, and he finds this very beautiful or whatever, and it turns out just to be like a lobster, right?
Just a regular lobster, not an alien lobster,
tank, right? Just a lobster in a tank, right? And they have like the whole music with the blurry background and like the two of them blocking eyes. Love at first sight, yeah. And I don't know, like I know he is a lobster, kind of.
I wouldn't say that's just a joke. I'm not going to read too much into that. It's just that he couldn't find love, but oh wait, he's a lobster man. A lobster. You think they'd have something in common?
I guess so, because then later we see them leaving, and he's leaving with said lobster.
Fry leaves with a 21st century lady who got taken over by carrots. No, that was another joke. No, was it carrots?
No, that wasn't in this one, bro.
What am I thinking of then?
You're thinking of when Fry and Bender work for the place, and when Fry and Bender go to that part where with the 1980s guy who shows up, and then the guy they're in a group,
right,
sitting,
cryogenic stuff, right?
Cryogenic stuff, because he's like, "Oh, we're taken over by giant carrots." Yeah, that's a different thing. No, she just talks about being enslaved by cyborgs.
Maybe they look alike. Maybe that's why I'm confusing them. Sorry. But okay, the cyborgs. He leaves with the cyborg girl. Yeah, sorry.
That's a guy.
He leaves with the cyborg lady. Yeah. Like, character designs, they can look similar. So he leaves with the cyborg lady.
Yes. who's not a cyborg. She talked about the cyborg. She's human.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. And then Zoe Berg leaves with the lobster. And then Amy leaves with one of the people that they were trying to get Leela to hook up with, who's just like a futuristic blob of energy. Yeah.
I have this here, some kind of energy source from an alternate dimension, because this is where Bender would say, like, oh, this alternate dimension is big on musical theater, which is, of course, the gay euphemism for that. So, any case, Leela, of course, is alone. She's there, and there's this little funny joke with the caretaker who's going to give her some advice, but then he realizes she's like a cyclops. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you had two eyes. And he leaves. So I think that's just a nice little kick while Leela's down. I think that's a pretty funny joke.
I think you see that guy, I think, one more time. And it was in the last movie with Leo Wong. He works at the place. Yeah. Sure. And you know how like fancy places have fountains and stuff like that? And so he just put some Mentos in a bottle and threw it in there and
oh, of course.
Like a show.
We'll see him maybe.
I could be wrong.
He's another guy that kind of pops up again without speaking. Though I think actually he might be in the background of the hip joint. He's always working for the hip joint because maybe. I think Bender and what was her name for that episode where he starts to want to get bending out of his system and he meets up with that woman.
Oh crap.
What's her name?
I keep wanting to call any female robot Coilette, but that is
not Coilette. That's Bender's alternate.
That's Bender's alternate name.
For the time being, we'll get to that episode in the future, but I believe the janitor
it's a bit of a redneck name.
Yeah. Any case, we get to the next morning and everybody's like either, doing whatever, but people are like, oh, so Leela, did you have any fun last night? And she's all angry because she's sick of all this. She's obviously ended up alone, unlike everyone else. So here they are sitting, and then the professor comes in, and of course his job for them today is not necessarily delivery, but he's doing like
I love this.
Like a helpful
tax deductible adventure or whatever he said.
Tax deductible. I should have written it down, but yes, basically a tax deductible way of helping people.
Mission of charity. It was a tax deductible mission of charity.
Right, mission of charity. In which case, planet Vergon 6 is going to be collapsing on itself due to the lack of resources inside of it. So it's just a hollow shell, and they need to go and save the animals from this area. But of course, the professor, and I'm not sure if this is kind of like the professor doing this because he wants the money or something, but he neglects to tell them that they're not allowed to be there because this is, of course, when we meet said characters.
Well, it's a charity, and I don't think the passion for doing the right thing is there, but maybe it's not the legal way of going around to it.
When he says tax deductible, I'm pretty sure he cares about the money.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
but
but I think it would be like, yes, I helped out this charity. Boom, here's your tax deduction.
Sure. Now, you mentioned you had some things to mention about the professor.
Geez. I forgot to do notes this episode, so I watched it really quickly and I wrote down 2 notes, and then I forgot to write down anything else because I was just enjoying the episode.
Sure,
but I love it because it's just he kind of like shut up. No one really needs to care about Leela's love life. This is Vergon 6. One of the things I love is that for some reason every planet other than Earth and Mars has a number after it, which is like why, like Omicron Persei 8. Is that the one just after Omicron Persei 9? Yes, it's the one after 9. We're before 9.
Well, it's because they don't. I believe it's because they don't have the name of the planet in their language, right? Because they belong to other species.
That could be true. That could be true. They basically
use the planets in the system. So that's the Omicron Persei system. And then they use the numbers to talk about how far away we are from the sun. Yeah.
Well, would they do that for us then? Like say like
they would. Yeah, they would say like Milky Way 3. Yeah. Milky Way, Milky Way
3. Yes.
3, yeah. 3. Third rock from the sun, right? Yeah.
Mercury, Mars, not Mars, Venus, then us, then Mars, and so on and so forth. So and Pluto is a planet.
I have no argument for this because it doesn't really matter anymore. It doesn't matter. It
doesn't matter. But basically, the professor here talks about, hey, like this planet, it will collapse because of the overmining of dark matter, which each pound of it weighs over 10,000 pounds.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah,
which I love.
Every pound weighs 10,000 pounds.
Like, it's dark matter. What? The thing is, it could. Yeah. I don't know. It's magic science at this point.
Yes. And it's
And
also and the reason that it's important is because it's ship fuel in this universe for the most part.
yes, exactly.
Right? So this is why it's.
And then I love it because he
yeah.
keeps also talking about like, so the animals need to be saved, and this is where we're gonna go save the animals. And then Leela's like, okay, but what about the animals? After he explains the
I didn't
difference,
say
like,
anything about
I don't recall
animals.
saying anything about animals. So this is kind of when I think they kind of started to have fun with the professor with his kookiness.
Yes, this is what I wrote down for him was the professor is just a forgetful old man. He's like this basically is his thing. Like what does the professor do that is both central to the plot but shows that he is still the senile old man that always forgets stuff. This is what he does. And this is classic professor, right? So, I love it.
But I'm already in my pajamas.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'll never say that again. So,
I think he said it twice.
He has. He'll never say it again. He's already said it twice, right? Any case, the professor, gives them the mission. They are going to go save all the animals. Joke about Noah's Ark is set there with Bender and with Leela, and then we get over to the introduction of who are our famous people of the episode, Captain Zap Brannigan and his first officer, Kif Croker. So let's talk a little bit about these characters. Because like we've talked about at the beginning of the episode, these guys are probably some of the most recognizable characters of the series.
Well, Zap.
Well, I mean, Kif becomes quite popular as well because he shows up always with Zap, but then he's also connected to Amy in the future, right? So with Zap Brannigan, I have here, Zap Brannigan is basically, he's actually kind of a moron. He's a wannabe womanizer.
Buffoon.
Pompous.
A buffoon would be the perfect way to describe him.
And he's so funny because of his voice, the way he says something, right? His lack of correct analogies and all these kinds of things. Like he says, like the best way to hide it, or the best way to play a game of chess with your opponent is to hide
never
your
let
pieces,
them see
never let them see your pieces. And you're like, it's just so ridiculous, right? To which Kif is always kind of like the straight man in this scene, right? He's always you're the worst, right? So let's talk a little bit about Zap and Kif. So Zap Brannigan is played by Billy West, whom I believe was doing an impression of the late Phil Hartman. Unfortunately, because Phil Hartman
the whole character was made for Phil Hartman, but unfortunately he passed away due to that. And so Billy West did an impersonation of him, which he doesn't quite sound like it, but his impersonation was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And just in case people don't know who Phil Hartman is, he was on a show called Newsroom, I believe.
Yeah,
News Studio or something like that, way back in the 80s, 90s. Yeah. He was also, if people like Christmas movies, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Jingle All the Way, he was like one of the other kids' dad who hit on Arnold's wife.
Right. And for people who were familiar with The Simpsons, he was Troy McClure.
Yes, that's
he was Troy McClure and a number of other characters. He actually played a number of characters in The Simpsons up until his death. And then those characters, unfortunately, were never seen again because obviously his voice is gone.
Passed away. Yeah.
But so Zap Brannigan was based off of his
He was also on Saturday Night Live.
Of course, that's where he started. Phil Hartman started off.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest
comedian.
one.
Yeah, he was a big comedian.
Yeah. Anyways, I love him. The few things I've seen him in, he's great. And Zap Brannigan is the pompous buffoon, just like him, but more buffoon because it's a cartoon and it's way better.
Right. Of course, Phil Hartman's like characters and mannerisms, not Phil Hartman himself. I don't think he was actually dumb. I think he was actually quite an intelligent guy. It's unfortunate this happened to him. Now, the other one is played Kif Croker, who is the first officer, right? And he's not human. He's an alien, like a frog, lizard type of character from.
That'd be the best way to say it. Something lizardy, amphibious
character. You're right. What's his planet? Is also a numbered one. It's the. What was his planet's name? Anyway, he comes from like a very big swampy-esque planet due to the fact that he's amphibious, right? And this is like the dominant species of the planet. And Kif is.
Google that.
Yeah, go for it. Kif is just like I said, the straight man. He doesn't take any crap. He always takes the crap, but he always has to like sigh at it. He doesn't understand Zap's will of doing stuff, right?
Here's the planet. Amphibious 9.
There
worked pretty hard for that one.
Amphibious 9, right? That's an easy one too. We should remember that one.
Oh, Right, but we forgot to mention that they both work for the Democratic of.
I was going to get into that as
Oh,
well.
sorry,
This
go
is
ahead.
the
You talk about
introduction
that
for it.
first.
But no, we'll talk about the whole system of the government within the Futurama, because this is when we start really getting into that. But yeah, anyway, Kiff comes from Amphibious 9, of course, as a frog people.
Amphibious.
Right.
Being newt.
Yeah. And yeah, with all that stuff here, he's just that kind of character. Doesn't like to put up with the crap, but he has to. It's
yeah, because Zap is his superior, so he has to kind of take all that. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong. He's played by Maurice LaMarche, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maurice LaMarche.
Yeah. So he's
great voice actor.
One of his big roles. Yeah. Same guy who plays Calculon also plays this Kif Kroker guy. So it's pretty good. Now, of course, yeah. As Mitchell is talking about, we get into the idea of DOOP, the Democratic Order of Planets, and this is, of course, this is what Zap Brannigan's captain of within the Navy of this structured system. He's preventing people from doing certain things, but since Zap Brannigan is a captain, he has control over his ship, the Nimbus, which has massive crew, all of which hate him, but all this kind of power. Right?
They all think he's a buffoon idiot.
Exactly, but he just doesn't care because he's too pompous and too narcissistic, I guess, is another one for that. Now, what happens on this? Why is Zap introduced to us in this format? What's going on?
They just kind of he's just there talking, being an idiot, kind of going start date. What's the date, Kiff? And then Kiff would tell him the date, because I think they're trying to kind of make him like Shatner kind of esque as well, but with Phil Hartman. And so they're just there in space, just kind of protecting the planet, right? They're scouting. I'm drawing a blank on the word I'm trying to use here.
Why do the Planet Express crew run into them? What's the point of this, right? They are protecting Vergon 6, but why are they protecting
Vergon 6?
Yeah, why are they protecting?
Crap! Because it's illegal to set there or something like that.
Exactly. It's illegal.
It's escaping me.
Right. No, you're right. It's illegal to get onto the planet because this was owned, or at least they had Democratic Order of Planets had prohibited people from going in there and intervening. Yet they themselves had intervened because they mined out the whole planet, which is causing it to implode in the first place. Which we do later find out the person that controlled this is another big character that will show up in the future as well.
Mom.
Yes, Miss Mom, right? With Mom's friendly robot company and all the fun stuff in the future. But we'll get to that much later. Any case, they need to go there. And what does Leela originally think of Zap Brannigan?
Oh, she's quite taken by him. She's quite smitten with him.
Yeah,
because like he's a general. It's one of those things. He's a famous war hero because he defeated the Killbots in that battle. I can't remember what the battle was, but just he defeated the Killbots. And Fry's like, "Oh, I heard you kill all these Killbots. How'd you do that?" He's like, "Well, let me tell you, Fry. It's because Killbots have a certain number of kills they can kill before they shut down. So he just sent wave after wave of men at them."
Yeah.
And then he won because he killed like a bazillion people.
Yeah. He essentially sent so many people that the Killbots couldn't reach a higher level of kills, so they shut off.
Yeah. And I love this too because
he assassinated all these people or annihilated all these people. Yeah.
This is another example of Bender's kill all humans thing. He's like, yeah, it was a dark day in robot history. Oh well, we could just make more Killbots. Right.
Yep. Human life is kind of thrown out the door of this show, but that's what makes it such a great thing there. Now, of course, they get onto the ship, and like you said, Leela is quite smitten with him at the beginning, but then she later learns that it's all talk, right? He's all just talking. That's it. He has no real action. He's kind of an idiot. He's all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah, so they're all having this quote unquote light dinner. They finish up, and this is actually a little fun joke I saw. It's like he gets angry at them because they're planning to go to this planet, which he forbids. He sends them to prison, and of course Fry is pissed off because he just got his food, and so he asks it to get it wrapped up. And they not only do they wrap it up for him, but they put it into like a nice little swad, which you see. So it's such a beautiful little visual gag that I like, because he brings it into the prison with him, so they're allowed to have their food, which just shows, Captain Zap Brannigan is not above, common courtesy. He at least understands when people pay for their food and wants to take it home with them. So
I think it was more of him pissing off Kiff because he kind of looked at Kiff and told him to do it, and then Kiff was like, "Oh."
But I don't think he cares about pissing off Kif. I don't think he ever cares about Kif. That's the joke.
No, I
That's the
think he
joke.
likes to kind of make him like he's
No.
very oblivious to a lot of it, but I think he likes to order him around.
Oh, he definitely likes to order him around, but I don't think it's at Kif's like Kif's ailment to it. I think Kif just gets angry at the fact that he has to be ordered around by Brannigan. Right. Now, as they're in prison, everything's going on here, and then Zap wants to meet with Leela because he's attracted to Leela as well, despite her one eye, which is actually kind of saying of Zap as well. He doesn't seem to have any prejudice against anybody. So he calls on Kif to go get Leela. Leela thinks this is going to be something for, captain to captain. But of course, Zap has other plans for Leela, right? Now, do you remember what he calls his little bedroom or whatever when he brings her up there?
Oh, crap. No, velour? I know he used the word velour a lot.
Velour is the material. His velour, like his shirt and his velour mattress coverings and sheets and all this kind of stuff. It's a nice, beautiful feeling. I think he calls it the Love-nasium. The Love-nasium. It's like, welcome to my Love-nasium. As he does.
Love-nasium, it's the Love-nasium, yeah.
Love-nasium. And again, this is also something that hints that Zap Brannigan is, not very intelligent to begin with. But he keeps on. Actually, I'll get your opinion on this. He keeps on pronouncing the term or the word champagne as Shampagan.
Love it.
Right? Now, do you think that's putting on a front because he's trying to act like he's kind of dim-witted and that way she'll feel sorry for him? Or do you think he actually doesn't know how to pronounce champagne? Because he does this with a lot of other words.
I think he's an idiot. It's like a chameleon. Some people who have never heard it and seen the word in the same sentence, they might say chameleon. Yeah. And it could be the same thing with champagne, Shampagan, because it is spelled a little odd. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, a lot of things just like bologna.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Or bravo, not bravo. Right. These certain things that he does. And of course, this leaves Fry and Bender left in the prison to live to their own thing. But they're actually kind of forgotten about. There's not really much to do with these guys. They're just kind of there. They have this one idea to try and escape through the pipe, and it turns out to be a steam pipe. So they just end up having a steam. It's okay. They're quite happy in there. Now, Zap does end up seducing Leela based off of
her pity for him,
right, and all this stuff. And of course, he doesn't care. To him, it's a win because he got with the lady. He was happy with his own achievement, right? But just not with the intent of how he did it. And Leela is not okay with this. She's completely embarrassed by this. She wants nothing to do with him, nothing to do it because she does have standards. At least she thought she had standards, and it turns out Zap Brannigan got to her. So she's completely shot down. And I think this is really important as a character for any type of character, especially for Leela's, because she is, at first she's made to be like this strong heroic character, but then it turns out, she falters for the same narcissistic things as other people do, or even falls for like certain personal problems as well. So I think this really shows that she is still quote unquote human for the show. Any other thoughts for Zap Brannigan and Leela's relationship? Do you think there's anything else there?
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. I just like the fact that he's trying to get her so bad, and then I think it might have been a Hail Mary for like the please pity me, I'm so lonely.
Right. You want more of the Shampagan? Right.
It's pronounced champagne. Oh God.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing with him, so I thought you'd understand because you're a captain too. and then it gets so lonely. And you know what? Sometimes that works. Like none of it's ever happened to me, anything like that. But just like I think like pity's a Hail Mary. I think for like the last ditch effort kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
the appeals to a woman's sense of like wanting to help, right? At least for
Leela. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's his last ditch effort. He's like, you would rather go to prison than spend a night with me? Okay, I guess I gotta pretend to be sad then because I gotta get with this girl because she's gonna leave. So he pretends to be sad and then done. It's all good, right? I'm just wondering what would have happened to him if he had done that and then Leela still didn't go for it. Like, would he have just pretended otherwise and just left, or would he have like tried something even worse? And I'm just like, how far worse do you go with the pity? You know, like what would he do? Like just beg her? He's like, please.
You know what? Maybe I think he would have done the beg, and that's more up his character alley.
Yeah. Because we know from future episodes, of course, that Zap Brannigan is no stranger to any kind of ploy to get what he wants, right? Grief, pity, doesn't matter. So now Leela sleeps with him. He lets them go because he's achieved it, and he thinks that because he's so good that she'll come right back to them. But of course, Leela's like disgusted,
crawling back to me like a bird. Birds don't crawl. They've been known to. And the only thing I'm going to do is crawl away from. I love Leela stuff like that.
Yeah, she has a lot of really good lines from that. So anyway, they go to the steam area or the prison that's turned into a steam room now. They're like, whatever. And Leela keeps on blurting out, like, we just talked. Okay.
I will say this thing, when she comes back and sees them, they're in towels, like people do in like a sauna. It's like, where'd they get them from? Because Fry now just has a towel around him. He doesn't have his jacket or anything. And it's just like, where do you get the towel? Yeah, so does Bender, who's a robot.
As a robot,
which steam would not work well, I think, with a robot system. Mind you, that's just me thinking, I don't know.
There's a lot
of future stuff.
There's a lot of great visual gags from that steam room scene, right? Yeah, because he's like, before all this, right? He's like, wow, I hope Leela's making progress because she's been gone a long time. So yeah, the police, the other security guards had come, seen that they have steam, gave them towels, removed their clothes so they wouldn't get wet. Like, they're actually very considerate. And then they just had to wait until Leela came back, right? In any case, Leela finally gets back.
Well, also like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna stop you from going down on the planet. And she's like, why? It's okay, because like you always come crawling back to me. Like I mentioned,
like Zap thinks that she'll come back anyway, right? Which she doesn't want to. She's disgusted. She grabs the crew. They head out to get to Bergon 6, and they have to collect.
Land on it.
Yeah, they have to collect.
And it starts to crack and crumble underneath the ship because of how hollow it is. And it's like, okay, we gotta quickly get this. It's gonna erupt disrupt or whatever in like the next 20 minutes. Let's capture everything.
Implode, right? Implode upon itself.
Whatever.
Right. You're right. And so we have to get all these ones. Now I know you probably didn't do this, but there's I took some, because I think they're also pretty funny visual gags, but I wrote down some of the animals that they had to collect from their list just for fun. But they had like a sharktopus. What was this? Chilean space bass, which I think is some kind of giant fish. A parasitic puppy, which we never saw. The windy shrimp, which we do see.
I love the windy shrimp thing. It's just a shrimp that blows wind so much. Vampire
slug, whatever that is. This is my favorite. I don't know if you'll understand this reference, but I'm sure you will. But it says excommunicated cardinal. Excommunicated cardinal. Do you know what this is?
Yeah, it's like getting banished in a way, right?
Right. Do you know what a cardinal is?
It's a little red bird. It's like a blue jay, but red.
Good. And do you know what another cardinal is? This is the joke. This is why it's called excommunicated.
Oh, it's some type of military thing, isn't it?
No, it's like a priest. It's a religious order.
Oh, right. Sorry, I remember knowing red and something like that. So yeah, cardinal. Yeah.
So excommunicated cardinal means that it's a priest or a cardinal that is no longer allowed to be part of the religious order. So the cardinal also plays on the pun of the type of bird. So they have this kind of fun thing. So I thought that was kind of a funny little joke, even though it takes you to pause it in order to actually read it in order to get that. Yeah. So it's not for anybody. It's just literally for anybody who wants to scope this joke out. It's so funny.
Well, and mind you, this is at a time where VHS was the norm.
Well, DVDs are starting to become more popular, but yes, the VHSs were still
a norm,
quite popular.
Yeah, I still remember getting VHSs in probably early mid 2000s. So
did the VHSs? Did they ever release? They didn't release Futurama on VHS though, as far as I'm aware.
I don't know, but like the thing is, this is old tube TV. When you pause things, you still have like that static lines and stuff.
Yeah.
So
like, so even if you wanted to read it, you're like, what? What is it?
Yeah, it wasn't clear, and like there's double images and stuff like that. And with modern technology and stuff like that, this is actually a funny thing too, for just animation in general. There's people who would put things in for one frame, that would they're like, yeah, no one's ever going to see this. No one's going to pause this stuff because they're just going to go see it in the movie theater, and people who don't have the trained eye aren't going to see that unless they
Right.
pause and go frame by frame. Like there's some pretty dirty stuff and things that have happened in cartoons and things. I'm not going to mention them because I'm an adult who's not a child. So you get to see someone's no.
Anyway,
there's just a whole bunch of little things.
Yes, there's a whole bunch of little things that are just there. I think, and as an artist yourself and as an animator yourself, like you can understand if you'll put this in there. Sometimes it's just for the animator's benefit to say like,
Yeah, exactly.
put that in there. No one else knows about it, but I do. This kind of thing.
And I feel like this list is kind of like who wants to put something funny and stupid? A Molotov cockatoo. That's a good one. Let's put that one in.
Right. Yes, that
windy
one.
Shrimp.
Write that one down. The windy shrimp.
Yeah.
And then the last one's the four-legged mimic, which we actually do see. And then Fry has that little thing.
No, the last one is hermaphromingo.
Flamingos. But the last one we see that's being like in the little montage captured is like the horse that looks like Leela, and then Fry throws the net over Leela because he doesn't know which one is which. But anyways. Of course, this is not the only these are not the only animals that we see. We get introduced to the third of these like famous characters.
Oh yes.
Nibbler, good old Nibbler.
He is a crucial character to how this entire episode. Oh no, what's the word I'm looking for? How Fry gets to the future. Basically, he's very crucial to how the series happens and how Fry gets to become part of Planet Express.
Exactly. He's. I think we may have mentioned him in previous episodes as well, because we talked about the very first episode. So this is how far back they were planning with all these characters. Nibbler's shadow, is seen in the very first instance of the episode,
where Fry falls into the cryogenesis.
And his little shadow was there, which again, only a trained eye, if that, would be able to notice something, because you wouldn't even know what Nibbler was up until this episode. So it's interesting seeing him. So he's actually like a very intelligent, one of the oldest creatures in the universe. And
they were like 14 before the universe started or something like that.
Right. And they're all like dancing around or whatever, their little flashback.
Picture the little cutest cuties that ever could cute. Like a little puppy, an alien puppy, but like it's the cutest puppy ever.
Yeah, with like a third eye. And of course, what's interesting with Nibbler's species in general, right, is like not only are they, kind of adorable and one of the oldest races, but they also have like, I guess, like a black hole for a stomach, because then they end up excrementing dark matter, which is apparently this is where the dark matter has come from this planet. So it's an interesting little thought about that thing, and it's actually very lucky for them, because what happens, their ship is out of fuel, something Bender is supposed to do, and of course, because he's neglectful, he didn't actually do it. So here they are on the ship, the planet's about to crush. They want to take Nibbler, and they've put Nibbler in the trunk area, but Nibbler has a black hole for his stomach, so he just eats all the animals, including the hermaphromingo. What is it? Hermaphromingo, right? Hermaphromingo.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try because I already have terrible English. So
it's such a weird, it's a two-headed flamingo. One of them has a mustache,
and the other one has like a bow in the hair or something.
Right. So that's all it is. So he eats that as well in front of them. So they realize that he ate the whole thing, all the animals. Anyway, they try to escape, and of course, what's happening? The planet starts to implode upon them. Mind you, they're also very late. I think that Leela states that they're already 2 hours behind schedule. The planet was supposed to implode already, so they don't know how much time they have left. Again, technology that only shows up in the 1950s to 2000s era is showing up at 1,000 years in the future. She calls Zap Brannigan for help to plead with him. Right, one of those corded phones that she has to do. And she please, can you help us? And then he's like, nope, you have to throw Nibbler away because that goes against dupe policy, right? Don't intervene. But of course she won't, because she has a love for the animals. So she hangs up on him, and then Nibbler takes a nice little poop. Turns out to be dark matter. No problem. Throws into the engine.
I like how they already had a sandbox. Oh, what was it called? Kitty litter box or whatever for him. They already had one set up for it. It's that was
lucky. Who was that for, I wonder? So they already used it, and and they throw it into the engine. Again, another funny thing is the engine is like this little gas engine, like on a train, like on a steam train, and they have to throw the fire. Anyway,
throw the wood in the fire, but in this case, it's the dark matter.
It's the dark matter, full tank almost. They take off and they're able to save themselves. Now, last little thing before we get into the final elements of the episode that I want to hear from you. Two things, I guess. This is also the first time we ever hear Bender use his phrase "pending for a bending." Somebody's pending for a bending, and I think that's still kind of funny there. The other one, we didn't see this before. I don't think we ever see it again. But Leela's quarters in the ship.
Yeah,
we never see
we don't ever see it again.
Yeah, but they're actually quite nice. If I recall, like it's like a nice bed, shelf. She has a desk. Like those are her quarters. Whereas Fry and Bender sleep in hammocks in like a storage closet. Right.
Well, I think that's kind of like the old ship thing, right? Where the captain gets the nice quarters and stuff, and then the crew kind of gets the crappier thing because they're just the crew. They don't matter as much as the captain. But the other thing too about her room is she already has a little like cat bed for Nibbler too. So like it's just like, did she bring this stuff beforehand?
She was planning to have an animal, maybe. Yeah, who knows? Actually, yeah, that could have been something.
It could just be just too forward ahead thinking for backgrounds or something. I don't know, for the crew. But could just be. I don't know. I think it's funny.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think there's always this element of like, oh yeah, that shouldn't be there yet. But then of course this time, because she's doing like what Zap Brannigan was doing with like the star date and writing something in her diary.
She's writing in her diary, yeah.
But that scene could have taken place well after this mission, right? It could have just been later.
True, but the fact that she talks about it, like right after it happens, I think it's kind of like on the trip home from that. That's how I take that. Yeah. Like you could be right, but no, it's from the way home to back to planet Earth.
Yeah, I agree.
Or
I think
Milky Way 3, as we should call it from now on.
Milky Way 3, and they never do. They never do. Maybe that's something we could use from now on. That's what we'll start using it for. Anyway, that's all we have for the episode. Of course, then it ends with Zap Brannigan, and then he just makes one more joke about the Stardate thing. And is that not what men have meant to do since they looked up on the stars, to sleep with alien women?
Sleep with sexy alien women.
And he's actually like, Kif, I'm asking you a question as a playing on the joke, right? So in any case, there you go. I think Kif does his wonderful sigh, which we'll come to love and mimic for years. In any case, here we are for Love's Labor's Lost in Space. So go through it here. What was your best moment, funniest moment, MVP for the episode? I think I know your MVP, but go ahead.
It's Zap Brannigan 100% all the way. Yeah,
me too.
The favorite moment is there's kind of a two-parter because they kind of work with each other. The whole thing when like Zap is trying to seduce her, and then like I was like, yeah, you'll be crawling back to me. It's like a bird. No, birds are they've been known to. And then when she calls him, yeah. And then when she calls him, when like the planet's imploding on itself, and she's like, hey, can you help us? He's like, oh, certainly, but you have to be nice to me. Oh, sorry, Big Z. He's like, and then the whole thing is like, well, I'll help you, but you have to get rid of that little thing, which is Nibbler. And she's like, no, I'll never not help a helpless little animal. And he's like, fine, we'll leave it on your own. And then she's like, well, screw you. Like I just like it where she kind of came crawling back. He's like, I told you. And then she's like, no, I'm not now. It was just blah.
So is that your favorite part, or your best scene, or is that your funniest scene?
That's my favorite moment, I guess, just kind of because it kind of calls back to that she did kind of crawl back to him,
like a bird.
She didn't.
Okay.
They're a flightless bird because they're in a ship that needs to fly. So it's kind of it's so meta.
Sure.
Favorite joke or whatever is definitely with the whole like it's real velour. Because he says it so often, like velour is supposed to be like that's the thing that every woman loves is velour. And
but it's not just women, right? It's him. He loves it. Everything about it that he loves. Yeah, no, fair enough. Let's see. So yeah, I was also gonna go with Zap as my MVP for this because he's like hilarious in everything he does, everything he says.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although Kif is a very close second because I think Cliff has a lot of great lines, right? Like he's like, the jackass wants to see you now and all this kind of stuff. But
yeah, I love that. The jackass wants to see you
the
guys.
fatso wants to says you're free to go. Like he calls them names behind his back, and I think that's kind of a funny thing. My favorite moment for this, I guess, is I do like the montage of all of them rescuing the animals, because I do like this scene. I like the design of them, of the planet. I like the idea of all the animals. Even this list of all these random animals that we don't actually see, I kind of think they're pretty good. I like that visual thing, as well as like Fry's visual thing with his food. I thought that was pretty fun. But in any case, my funniest moment, I would say, is actually with Fry. And right at the end, right when the ship is about to explode, or sorry, the planet's about to explode, Fry yells something along the lines of like, "Every man for himself," and he jumps off the ship.
Right.
He lands like onto the ground and it crumbles underneath him. So I don't know. I thought that was like, makes me laugh every time I see that. So that was probably my favorite, funniest moment there. But yeah.
So how many animals were there on the list? Like 10?
The ones. So let's see. I think there's probably roughly about 10. I wrote down the ones we didn't see, except for like one or two, and then there's a couple of the other ones that we didn't get to visually see on there because they're cut off by the screen. But yeah, I'd say about 10,
here's the question for you then.
Yeah.
If like say you were an alien or whatever, and like planet Earth is going to implode, here's 10 animals to save. What would be the 10 animals that you would save?
A planet
or I guess I should say, what 10 animals do you think are like
oh god,
the ones that planet Earth would say like, hey, save these ones. Like what on planet Earth is like, oh, that animal's definitely from planet Earth. Like I'm trying to think of like the mascot for Earth or whatever. Like the ones that were like Africa would have like the elephant and giraffe kind of thing. North America might have the bear.
Yeah, you bring up a good pondering question. I would say
the llama.
Yeah,
or something
man. I mean, yeah. Think of an animal that's pretty dominant dominant in most countries or on most continents.
Yeah.
And
I would ask you, like, what would be the ones that you would save, and then what would be like the ones that you think like the world would kind of represent to save?
I think that's
like do you think the elephant would be
way too long to get into here? But
just off the top, give me 5 ones that you want to save.
Off the top of my head, probably like a tiger. One of the bears, maybe like a grizzly bear or something.
Yeah.
Elephant or giraffe, one of those. The kangaroo, I think is pretty visually attractive, right? I think a lot of people remember the kangaroo from whenever they see it.
Yeah,
even if they're not from
I would say like, oh yeah, kangaroos are from Australia. Yeah, totally.
Probably like the crocodile. I mean, the crocodile's been around forever, so like, why not? Not to mention
no fish, no bugs.
I mean, maybe
no lizards. Oh, you said crocodile.
Yeah, the crocodile's not a lizard though. But in any case, it doesn't matter.
Dinosaur.
Like, under the water ones. I mean, you're talking millions of different species.
Oh yeah, there's thousands of different species.
It's impossible to do this, man.
If I were to give I would save moose, golden retrievers, all of them. I love goldies.
You're very biased.
I know, I love golden retrievers. And then obviously I'd also save like Bernese mountain dogs. Again, most of them would be dogs because dogs are awesome. That'd be the ones that I would choose to save because I just love dogs.
No, that'd be ridiculous. But yes, okay.
I know. The dogs are all dogs, basically, right? Yeah, not to me. But I would say, probably grizzly bear. Maybe to be Canadian, the beaver, just because beavers are cool.
I wouldn't save the beaver, but fair enough.
No, it's a rodent. It's a rat, basically.
Yeah.
Tiger to me seems a little too much. Like
Well, they're already endangered. That's what I'm thinking, right? So I was trying to think of creatures that are already kind of endangered. What could we already they're already in the process of trying to save. I'm not thinking of myself. Like I have favorite animals too, but that's what I was saying. All of those. Yeah, you're thinking favorite animal. I'm thinking like actual.
I know. I said there's two separate lists. There's like your favorite animals that you'd want to save, and then there's the ones that you think the planet would say like, hey, save those ones.
And like I said, it's too long of a question to really go into on this.
Oh, I know.
But in any case, I'll
it's a fun question. That's why I asked it.
We'll leave it for the audience. The audience can think about that as well. What animals would you save? And if you would, which ones? Why would you save them? Let's see if you can talk about.
More importantly, which ones would you leave behind?
Maybe that's an easier question. Yeah.
Mosquitoes and all the tarantulas, every spider ever. I understand their importance in the world, but fuck them, they're scary and creepy.
Okay. All right, Mitchell. Thank you for joining me today for this one, and we'll see everybody next time for the next episode, of course. Being that of Fear of a Bot Planet, episode 5. So we'll see you then, and thanks again for joining me.